What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Coffee and Questions podcast. I am your host, Michelle Berman-Michael. You already know me, but I am so excited about this interview. And I feel like I've done a lot of interviews lately. We've done a really good job at showing up for you guys every week, but this is a super, super unique show. And I cannot wait for you guys to get to know my new friend, none other than Tiffany Mcquaid. She is the president of Mcquaid and Company Real Estate Services. She is also a brand new author of the book, The INth Degree. And Tiffany, I'm so excited for you to be here. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm equally as excited.
Awesome. Well, I want to just jump right in. If you're ready, let's just figure
I'm
out,
ready.
how did Tiffany become Tiffany? How did Tiffany develop her boutique brokerage? And then why did you decide to write a book?
You just want me to just spill it and let it all out there.
Fill it out.
Okay, well, 22 years ago, I started in the real estate industry in Florida. I'm originally a Buckeye from Ohio and, relocated south. And when I came down here, I had kind of left my industry and my role in a company that I co-founded. It was a marketing promotion and special event management company. So when I came down and got into the real estate industry, that's where my brain was going. I was watching what everybody was doing, both brokerage wise, agent wise, really kind of paid attention. And real estate was always what I loved, what I was so passionate about. But marketing and promotion is what I know. That kind of courses through my veins in a weird, creative little way. So, as I kind of evolved, I started as an agent knowing that someday I wanted to have my own brokerage, no real plan. And as I evolved and kind of specializing in the community where I lived, because I felt at that time I did not want to be all over the beautiful area of Naples, Florida, which is fantastic. I knew that to be of best value, my marketing brain was saying, zero in, pick an area and get to know it like the back of your hand, know everything about it. It was only, normal that I suppose I picked the community where I live, which is called Quail Creek, and have been blessed to have market share there for 22 years on both the listing and selling side. So, in doing that and starting as an agent, I started with a boutique brokerage. And about 5 years in, we joined forces and partnered in the firm for another 5 years. And then right at the 10-year mark, I knew I kind of wanted to go on my own. I loved my business partner, still do, but we had a big age gap and she, was at a different stage of her career. So I just jumped and went on my own. And scary as all get out, by the way, which I do write about in my book, kind of the risks that I took to do that. But my main goal in doing that was, as I'm sitting back, the research side of me was watching everywhere around town. And there's so many great brokerages and great agents for sure. There's also some that are not that great, right? As every industry has. But I really watched and monitored and figured out where there were voids. So, where were the voids both in the market, how the brokerage was presenting itself both to the consumer and to the agent, how the agent itself, and I was monitoring kind of everybody that really were kicking butt, in the market. I'd go to their open houses. I'd, do whatever I needed to do to figure out what they were doing. And then how can I do that 10 times better? What can I do to elevate my game and thus, for the sake of the brokerage ultimately, but what can I do to elevate and be different and unique and stand out? But most importantly, make a connection unlike anyone else in, a different way. And you're not going to connect with everyone the same way for sure. And I knew that. So from a marketing perspective, I was approaching it from tentacles, if I were taking, a marketing cup and I were pouring a little bit into various different areas, I was splitting it all so that if I was touching maybe somebody via direct mail, or maybe just running or playing in a golf tournament or being at an event and connecting that way. Social media, each various aspect. How is I presenting myself there? Obviously, a huge thing that you are the specialist in. But, really methodically thinking through every little tentacle, every little, piece that I was dividing up to make one great thing. And in that diversification, that's really what has made us stand out, not only as a company in various aspects, but even individually, our agents.
Yeah, that's a amazing point, and that's the perfect segue into the core piece that I love about you. And I had the opportunity to get to know a lot of this about you before we even actually formally met, which is so cool. But one of the things that you do, and part of your brokerage, is you individualize marketing for every single agent. So what I
Correct.
want to do is I want to pull the curtain back on that, because
Okay.
those of my listeners who have listened to all close to 60 episodes that we have of the show will
Yeah.
know that I am not a fan of copy paste, copy paste.
Oh, yes.
Not a fan of the stock photos, the Googleable images that you're dropping into a Canva template and posting and saying, I did it, I checked the social media box. And I'm also not a fan of the sort of boilerplate concept where every single person has the same content that they're purchasing for, $80 a month or whatever it might be that they have
Yeah.
access to, and
Mhm.
calling it social content. So and also, to be very candid with my audiences as well as with you, I've been offered those jobs, right? Like in-house marketing
Yeah.
jobs at real
Sure.
estate companies, mortgage companies, you name it. And
Mhm.
my biggest thing is, first of all, no. Second
Yeah.
of all, like
Yeah.
you wouldn't like me because I tell you what you're doing wrong and you have to pay me more to do it. But what I love about you is, as part of McQuaid and Company,
Yeah.
is every agent is so unique and has the opportunity to be really unique. So can you
Yeah.
talk about what that means? How does that relate to Instagram, like as far as Instagram content specifically? Like, what does that look like in-house?
Oh boy, that, I am right there with you on everything that you said. To me, I believe, we were born to stand out. Each and every one of us are very unique in what we have to offer, how we offer it, and more importantly, what we bring to the table, both in this industry and out. And if you're not out there presenting yourself in an outstanding way and not blending in and being cookie cutter. And, to me, I mean, even back in the day when I first started, there wasn't social media. I mean, I didn't even have a cell phone at the beginning. People were calling my home phone. So that's how old I am.
No.
But I'm young at heart. I believe I'm young. But anywho, back in the day, I remember you'd go to the mailbox, and in social media is exactly the same way. We still deal with this today in mail, but direct mail to me is an anomaly in a great way, and we can get to that in a moment. But when back in the day, you'd go to the mail and you'd pull out your mail, you'd pull it out and you'd go through it, and what would you see? A million different real estate postcards. Now, if there were several agents that were working in the same brokerage, their formatting was all the same. It was the same size, had the white space on the backside, a little bit of written word, small enough that you'd have to put your glasses on, one main photo and a little agent in a box, right? And what happens? You've got 2 to 3 seconds before those go in the trash. It's
Mhm.
really probably the same conversion rate on social media when people are flipping, right? But back in the day, you had 2 to 3 seconds before you went in the trash. How are you making a connection? You're just throwing your money away doing things like that. But the reality is, when you're competing with so many agents in a market, or 1.5 million in the industry around the country, you have always, to me, 2 to 3 seconds to make an impression. Whether you are meeting them face to face in a meet and greet, what energy are you presenting? Whether you are showing up in their mailbox, how are you conveying, and what does it look like, and how different and unique is it, so that you create retention? And in what you're putting out in terms of the social media world, that is a connection to you. There's a difference to me between value and value, Y-O-U, V-A-L-Y-O-U. Value means you can spend a little bit of money, as you were referencing, $80 a month, whatever it is, which is a value package, right? To just get some things posted and get it out there. But what good is that if you're not making a connection? You know, the main thing for any business is people want to work with people that they like and they know. Plain and simple. And as the industry is evolving now with all the buyer changes, that's what you need to focus on. You have to focus on your 3 or 5, as I always call it, your shiny pennies. What are the things, and we approach, whether it's social media or how we put things out, in every platform and every level, that it's a conveyance of who you are, both as a person and as a professional. What are the things important to you? What's your 3 or 5 shiny pennies that you love? And anybody going to me, and I'm sure you'd say this, going on social media, if they've been following you for a while without actually knowing you, which we all have plenty of those, not all the people that you grew up with and spent your whole life with, but that have been following you, if you can't ask them, and this is actually a great exercise that I had my team do, reach out to 5, 10, 15 random people that follow you and say, I'm kind of doing some personal research. I'm trying to evolve my business and my brand. Would you mind telling me, just from following me, number one, do you see what I'm putting out? How often are you posting, right? Number two, can you tell me a few things that maybe you could convey that you've recognized about me? For me, I am pizza obsessed. I have a little dachshund that I post all the time. I wear red all the flipping time. There's different things that anybody who follows me can easily, I post, very motivational, positive mindset quotes and things, in the morning. But there's so many things in your life and in your world that you can sit down and figure out how you're conveying it out to make sure and ensure that you're making a connection with people. Because again, people want to work with people that they feel like they know, because they do. Even if they haven't met you face to face, I can't tell you how many people I've had this interaction with. They pop in, oh, I've been following you for a few years. I just wanted to come in and say thanks for your posts. It gets my day started, whatever it would be. That's the holy grail that we're all looking for, is making that connection to people that you don't know, that they think of you when they're in your city, in your town, walking by your office, in your community, whatever it would be, that they're thinking of you, that they're recognizing you, and making that true connection. Connection equals conversion all the time.
Yeah, I would second that, and then add conversation in the middle of that, right? So when we
Yes.
have connections
Yep.
lead to conversations,
Yep.
conversations equate to conversion, because if we're not talking to
Yeah.
people, you're definitely not going to convert anybody, right? So
Exactly.
to piggyback off of what you just said, it's just, I mean, honestly, we could just stop the episode now and be good and be like, hey guys, there you go. But there's so much more to this, right? Because of
Yeah.
the true meaning of why do we use Instagram, or why do we use social media? Like I ask myself that question all the time. Like I'll wake up and be like, okay, well, who do I need to be for my audience today? And I kind of asked myself that question on good days and bad days, right? Of,
Mhm.
hey, I'm having a good hair day. Hey, I got my makeup done. Hey, I went and got my
Mhm.
hair done and I feel really pretty today. And then also I have the days where I'm like, I'm not really feeling that great today, but my hair's on the top of my head. I just left the gym. I'm going to show up anyway. But what I've been able to do in doing that is really establish the like and the no factor. And I think if we talk about the sales triangle of the like, know, and trust
Yes.
conversation, um,
Yep.
if I'm going to trust you with my money to buy the biggest transaction of my life, right?
Yep.
I better like you, and I better feel like I know who I'm hiring. And
Yes.
how do we get to know or how do we get to know the person without the no factor, right? The dog or the pizza or the diehard I'm a coffee shop addict. All hole in the wall coffee shops. Give me a honey lavender latte. Give me the coffee art. Like I want all of it.
I
Right.
love it.
And that's so important to me. But I also think, and I'm curious your take on this. We're
Yeah.
big personalities, right? And I've always been
Yeah.
said or been told that, like, Michelle, you come off very confident and very intimidating. And I was like, well, I don't want to be intimidating. Like, I'm just really normal mom and a wife, and I have two dogs and I have a cat. Like, I'm just a normal girl, you know?
Yeah. Right.
But the reality is that our social presence, and in this case, Instagram, if we don't show up that way, if we don't
Yeah.
show up authentically on the good days and the bad days,
Yeah.
to my audience, I'm just this really big, dominant personality that's unapproachable. But
Right.
the girl in me, right? The mom,
Mhm.
the wife, the girl that has bad days, and the girl that has her hair on her head going to the CrossFit gym, that's an approachable version.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so the triangle of the like, know, and trust concept is
Yeah.
closed when we have the like and we have the know, because then our business content becomes the trust factor, right? And automatically people are more likely to say, you know what, Tiffany? Yeah, I am going to give you my time and I am going to give you my eyeballs because I also feel like I like you and I already feel like I know you before we've ever even spoken.
Yeah. Well, and you again, I couldn't agree with everything that you're saying more. I think um 10, 12 years ago when I first started posting on social media, and I was kind of starting into the brokerage or starting the brokerage, that's very hard. It's hard for anyone to start a business, and whether you're starting a business or a relationship or whatever it is, the starting part can be fun and elating, but it can also have its challenges.
Yeah.
So, I kind of made a concerted effort that every morning, I was getting up and, okay, how do you feel today, Tiff? How are you feeling today? And I would start without even really thinking about it. I had made a commitment to regularly post every morning, but without really thinking about it, what evolved was I was posting and sharing with my own little creative shtick added to it in my commentary, short, but somewhat catchy at times. But I started posting, I would look for things that I needed that morning. Like if I was about to head into something challenging or whatever it would be, or if something great was happening, whatever it would be, I would look for something that resonated with me that morning.
Mm.
And when I was looking at it that way, I thought, well, I'm in my mind, I'm putting it out there in writing for the world to see. It's going to make me feel better, thinking, okay, it's legit now. We feel like once it's in writing, it's serious. So I thought, okay, I'm doing this for myself, but if I'm feeling this way, I know that there's someone else out there that could use this message today.
Mm.
And that was my mindset when I started doing it all those years ago. And what ended up happening was kind of beyond my wildest imagination. Because I think even though I was putting out a lot of times maybe generic quotes or, some things were very personal, photo, whatever it would be, um, the messaging was always meant to be uplifting. And what ended up happening was just people connecting so much. And I think because I was authentically sharing from my heart from a space that I was at, I think that sometimes it comes through in the conveyance, whether they realize it or not. And what ultimately happened as time went on was people started looking for the posts. And very rarely did I miss a day, but I would find that if I missed a day or two, all of a sudden I'd get like bombarded in the morning with so and so liked your post, liked your post. Like they'd go back like over the last week or 10 days and just start liking things like, wait a minute, where's their post? Let me look and see what's going on, in the past to get caught up or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I recognized then that I was kind of on to something. And I would get people calling, walking into the office. If I would meet someone for a listing in my community, that followed me, you get me going every morning. I look for your posts in the morning. And, it just became something a little bigger than me, which ultimately resulted in me writing the book because it was those very posts during COVID lockdown, because remember, by that time it was I was 10 years into posting like that. And the outreach from people during COVID lockdown, sending me DMs, texts, because I still continued saying, how are you handling being positive during this time? Can you guide me? Can you help me? And I wasn't qualified, to help anyone, but I was sharing with them what was working for me, what I was doing to keep my mental capacity in great shape and, what have you. And they just the outreach continued. Oh, that really helps. Let me know if there's something else, blah, blah, blah. And ultimately, that was one of the reasons why I wrote the book. And as a result, my business has grown so much, in terms of confidence, people having confidence in who you are, what values you have, what you believe in. And granted, there's some days that, maybe don't go as easy and as positive as, you can put out, but tomorrow's always a new day. So, mentally as an individual, I wake up each morning with hope. So that is my hope that that gets conveyed out to everyone. And it makes a listing appointment so much easier because you're not selling yourself. They're already sold on you. So it's really just a matter of semantics from that point. And that to me is the holy grail of the industry, both for the seller side and the buyer side going forward. When they choose you before you even walk in that door or meet up with them at a property or whatever it is, because they have confidence in what has been equated to them and what they've seen with their own eyes and felt with their heart in getting to know you on these platforms, that's what it's about, right?
Totally. I mean, that's the whole point. And I could honestly, I'm just gonna take that quote right out of here, and that's gonna be our title. But the reality is I feel like I never want to be on a true sales call ever again in my life. Right.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
all done cold calling. I've been in my industry for 10 years, right? I've been doing this for a long time. And
Hmm.
there were lots and lots of years where I had to, anytime I got a new follower, I would pick up the phone and I'd call them, or somebody would find me and join my Facebook group and I'd pick up the phone and call them. I've done
Yeah.
all, right. And
Yeah. Yeah.
the reality is that now the presence that I have creates calls where they're calling me. They're already ready to
Yeah.
go, right? They're
Hmm.
in my DMs or on my Facebook in my messages saying, Michelle, we heard you on this, we heard you on that. We love your content. We love this, we love that. And I get on
Hmm.
a sales call and it's like they can't even tell me that they're ready fast enough, honestly,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's the purpose of why we're doing it. So when I hear a real estate agent or when I hear a lender tell me, well, I'm a repeat referral business, I haven't really had to worry about social media too much. I don't want to say that it frustrates me, but
Yeah.
it worries me, right?
Right.
Because somebody else is doing that.
Yeah.
Somebody is doing what you're talking about, where they're showing up
Yeah.
every single day, and it may take 365 days before that person gets their first opportunity off of showing up for
Right.
365 days. But the
Right.
point is that they're doing it. So, question for you, because my head
Yeah.
is moving here. When you started the brokerage 22 years ago, or
Hmm.
you got into the industry, I should say 22 years ago,
Yeah.
how were they teaching you to market yourself? Was it this really big dichotomy
That
between
that's the best question. Go
that's
ahead. I'm
it's a
sorry.
good it's a age old question, but even
Hmm.
still today, right? People
Yeah.
are like, Michelle, how much is too much business? How much is too much personal? And
Yeah.
I'm saying this lovingly, but like, why are
Yeah.
we still asking that question, right? Because
Yeah.
and where I'm going with that comment to you or
Yeah.
question to you is back in the day, right? My understanding is
Hmm.
that you guys were taught to be very professional, and professional was separate from the personal. So
Yeah.
is that how you felt in the beginning? And then at what point in your career where you're like, okay, well, that can't be how I'm
Yeah. Well, that's a fantastic question. I can specifically remember being in real estate school, and I'll never forget this as long as I live, because again, I came from having a marketing and branding company, for years. And so I'm sitting there, and I'll never forget this. The instructor saying, well, the best way to market yourself is to get yourself a really nice named badge and you wear that name badge everywhere you go, the grocery store, everywhere. And this is how you will start to build your business, is by walking around with this name badge on. And I remember being like, wait a second, really equating that out to today, our name badge is our social media pages, right? But they have to look for them unless, they show up in their feed. But I am a firm believer, and this kind of goes back on what we were talking about before we segued to this, but I do want to say this, and it's so important. And it's just this quote, if you can leave it in your head at all times, is the key element of great marketing and branding is to create a presence that's present when
Mm.
you're not present. So the aim of great marketing and branding is to create a presence that's present when you're not present. So the main goal is when you're not in their mailbox, when you're not in their feed, when you're not on their TV or, whatever, that you are branding yourself individually and well enough that when they think of, obviously real estate, that's number one, right? But when they think of, or they're sitting there eating a great pizza, that they take a photo and think of you, oh my gosh, you got to visit this place. If you're in, and I get those all the time, Boston, New York, California, Chicago, whatever. Oh, they're always sending me great places, but that you're in their mind for whatever it is, if you're a cat lover and you specifically like calico cats and you're branding yourself, is whatever it is, but you're connecting with them in a way that makes them smile, elevates their mood, starts to create that top of mind, and they run into a calico cat or whatever it would be. I'm just using that as a silly example,
That's a
but
fun one.
that they think of you when that happens. If they see a great quote, and I get tons of those. If they see lions, I get tons of those. That to me is always, and that's what we focus on within the company. That does not happen when you're cookie cutter marketing or branding. Cookie cutter, although it's admirable, that it's both within brokerage and or opportunities with social media companies or whatever to do that. And that's okay for filler, understand that. But at some point, you have to differentiate yourself. You can't totally rely on that, because what if all that went away? What if all of it went away and you were focused to stand in front of me or in front of you and tell us what is important to you? What are you going to tell me to make me feel closer to you, feel that I can trust you, believe in you, connect with you, laugh with you, walk through a challenging and or difficult or extremely smooth real estate transaction? What is that that is going to make you differentiate yourself? If you focus in on blending, you'll never create a presence. That's what you need. That's what we all need. We're in a world right now of complete distraction and reaction. Everybody's reacting quickly to emails or posts that they read on social media that ignite them. We're in a very torn society, half believe one thing, half believe another. Some are negative, some are positive, you know, distraction and reaction. We're not eating dinner, focused on dinner. We're texting. We're doing whatever is taking us away from, the main focus. And ultimately the goal of presence is compressing. So you have to figure out how to infiltrate yourself to fill voids, both in the industry and out. So individually, what are your top 3, 5 shiny pennies about you that are going to make you stand out or make a connection to other people? Um, whatever those are. And more importantly, what voids are you going to fill both in the industry, in the community that you're serving, and within your brokerage, what have you? You have to really double down and focus on those two things, and be able to show and share your value.
Yes. And who you
Yes.
are as a human being.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, 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 and yes. But who you are as a human being, I think is such a superpower, right? And I think that
Yeah.
oftentimes we end up, I mean, I have a client right now who, and she's gonna end up listening to this episode and DM me, I know it, but she's a hardcore plant lady, right? Like
Ah,
everything is
nice.
plants. Everything is, I mean, I swear every time we're on Zoom, she's got new plants behind her. And I'm like, get that one, Sarah. But the reality is that in her mind, when she was a newer agent, it was, well, this agent is posting this and this agent's doing a lot of deals. So I'm going to do that too. I'm going to copy and paste and do that too. Well,
Yeah.
the reality is when she called me, one of the things she said is, well, Michelle, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I think, but
Yeah.
it's not turning into anything. And she
Yeah.
said that she's like, I'm not getting any DMs. I'm not getting I'm not starting conversations about buying or selling. So what am I doing wrong? And she wasn't afraid of video. She wasn't afraid of doing reels.
Hmm.
And I said, after, 3 or 4 calls, we finally figured out, well, Sarah, you're not being you. And who
Yeah.
is Sarah? Right. And it ultimately came down to her being the fun version of herself and then
Yeah.
storytelling into real estate. So can we talk
And
about
it,
in how we sell real estate, right? Can we talk about
yeah.
what do you look at when you want to go buy a house if you're a plant person? How do you move if you have 100 plants in your house?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden she just listened to that little inner
Yeah.
voice. And I mean, I about died when I saw her first reel go out about this, when we actually leaned into it. I mean,
Yeah.
quadruple, almost 5 times the visibility of any of the other ones. And she had more fun recording that reel that took 30 seconds than
Yeah.
any of the other ones, you know?
Yeah. Well, and my marketing brain is going crazy because I'm thinking she just has to get back to her roots legitimately, as the plant lady, right? But
No pun intended.
there's a whole campaign thinking about uprooting, you know.
I love
Let me
it.
help you plant your roots, you know. I mean, she's got a whole brand that she could really focus on the green
For sure.
and and bloom and blossom.
I love it so much.
I could probably go all day with these little puns, but exactly that. You are absolutely right. You know, those differentiators, everybody always wants to blend in. Why is that? You know, they always want to follow the crowd. And not that there's anything wrong with that. You know, we like to congregate at times. We all like to share in like kind, um, circumstances and situations and what have you. But the reality is, in order to create top of mind awareness and recognition, and for people to understand who you are and what you do, you have to do it different. You
Mhm.
have to.
Yep, absolutely. And you have to be okay with being different, right? Because I think
Yes.
that's the other piece is people are like, well, what if nobody cares? Or what if people think it's weird? Or I
Yeah.
have a client too, same concept, but she loves smelly pens, like the kind you like do calligraphy with and like scrapbooking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, girl, I'm the one that's gonna go find all these cute little hole in the wall bookstores in town to buy the smelly pens. And
Yeah.
let's talk about it. Like, let's lean into that and be okay with that. But I think people are so afraid that if they talk about who they are as humans
Yeah.
in that quirky way, that it
Yeah.
will alienate them from opportunity or from clients that are, maybe a higher price point that they're
Mhm.
trying to break into. And they're like, oh, well, I have to be this super professional person in order to land that.
Yeah.
And from my experience in business, right? I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years. It's enough time to feel like you have some semblance of an understanding of what to do and what not to do.
Right?
But the harder I've tried to be like other people, right? Great example is I'm not the girl that's going to wear a dress and high heels on stage. That's just not me, right? Now,
Mhm.
are there people that I can see that can go do that, yourself included, that look insanely fabulous doing it? Yes. But like, that's not who I am as a person,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
So when I decided to own that space and say, I'm going to be the cute shirt and jeans and Nikes girl,
Yeah.
I was so much more confident. People felt more connected to me. I had
Yeah.
people telling me that all the time. They're like, we're so proud that you just freaking rock Nikes. Like, that's so cool. And um, it just made me feel like I could
Yeah.
truly walk into like the space that I love and want to be. And I think that maybe me and Tiffany both, for all of you guys listening, maybe both of us ladies are giving you guys who are listening to this permission in a way
Yes.
to
Yeah.
post about the calico cat, post about your love of pizza, post about your love of cooking if you're a cooking
Yeah.
gal, right? Or
Mhm.
gentleman. I mean, I have a client who posts all of his like Traeger stuff in his stories every single time
Yeah.
he makes something on the Traeger. He's like, I
Yeah.
really thought no one would care, but a lot of people care. Exactly. Right? Like go find your community because your
Yeah.
community needs you and we all need you, right? We need that the version
Yeah.
of you that is truly, truly you.
Yeah. Well, and people are so afraid of rejection. I think that's what prevents people from doing things. Just that fear of the unknown and are they not going to accept me? But, the reality is in this world, especially now more so than ever, I think, because we can see it in real time, is that you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but that's what makes it so great to have these opportunities to get yourself out in so many different avenues and share your authentic truth, your authentic story of who you are, what you do, how you're going to benefit them, how you're going to, make them smile, how you're going to help them achieve their goals. And you're going to do it from a space, of pizza loving, dog loving, whatever it is that's like the sprinkles on top of the sundae. When you've got the core of everything that you're building and each scoop is so solid and then all of a sudden you've got the coating, the sauce, then you sprinkle it in with some amazing other little things that are just going to make that transaction and your career that much better. And then you're going to put the whipped cream on and then that cherry on top is going to be incredible success because you've built it from an authentic space. You've sprinkled it in with being true to you. And then you top it off and you're in great shape.
I love it so much. I feel like this is a conversation that needs a whole nother hour and maybe we need to do another show. But Tiffany, I would love for people to get to know how, like just where can they find you? How can we get connected to you, whether that's Facebook,
Sure.
Instagram? And then most importantly, obviously people need to go buy your book, like without question. But
Well,
secondly, what's coming up for you soon that someone who is listening to this might be able to get dialed into?
so first of all, the book, The Nth Degree, How to Stand Out by Going All In, uh, basically touches, base and really deep dives into 7 keys, all starting with the word in, from intrepidness to intention to invigoration, to influence. Everything that we touched base on today is really highlighted in that journey and in that book. So that's available anywhere books are sold, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, it's audio, it's everything. So that's that. As far as getting a hold of me, you can always call our brokerage. I'd be happy to talk to anyone at 239-300-4880. Or you can email me at Tiffany at McQuaidCo, McQuaidco.com.
Love it. I love it so much. Well, Tiffany, I just think you're fabulous and this has been
Thank
so much
you.
fun and I feel very connected to you, right? And that's the whole point of what we're doing. So,
And
thank you.
I to you.
Well, awesome. I appreciate that. I loved having you on the show and I know that all of my listeners are going to feel the exact same way when they listen to this episode. And speaking of, if you are listening
Yes.
to this right now, please leave Tiffany and I a review. Tell us how we did on our show. And if you have other guests just like Tiffany that you think would be a great fit for the show, please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook and we will get them on. But other than that, Tiffany, thanks so much for being here. I super appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. It was so fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. We'll see you in the next episode.